Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, we'll have a look at the GFS, GM, EasyWF and the Ensembles. It does look likely perhaps next week we see a real warm push of air from the south. At the moment it does look like it's going to be accompanied by quite a bit of rain and cloud, so the upper air temperatures are going to be conducive. Temperatures perhaps in around the low to mid 20s, but from what we'll see in the UKV at least and some of the other models, it does look likely we will see, as I said, cloud and rain with it, maybe holding those temperatures down, giving us a real muggy feel for the middle of next week. Beyond that, it does look likely that eventually that sort of south to southeasterly wind that's going to be giving us this real mild week is going to be eventually petering away, and we're going to be going back unsettled, perhaps with the wind coming in from a more north or northwesterly direction, turning things a bit colder, or at least more towards average for this time of year. All of that though, regardless of the upper air temperatures, as we have alluded to over the last few videos, it's going to be unsettled. Regardless of what's happening with the air masses, it does look likely there will be plenty of showers and bands of precipitation moving around. So if you're looking at dry weather, it doesn't look likely we're going to be seeing a lot of that over the next couple of weeks. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So, if we do start on the live radars, and we're calling this around 1 PM, you can see a lot of heavy showers spiralling in from the west, as we do have low pressure sat out in the Atlantic, pushing in all these bouts of areas of precipitation. You can see some of them are quite heavy, with some yellows and oranges and even a bit of reds mixing in there, which is quite torrential precipitation, but they should move through quite quickly on a blustery westerly flow, and you can see generally they are positioned mostly in the west, across Ireland, Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England, Wales and southwest England, but will push eastwards throughout the day as well. And it does mean that most areas will see some rain at some points today, but it shouldn't be a washout by any means. It will just be about dodging the showers and hopefully don't get caught out in the heavier stuff here, because even into the London area, seeing some small areas of precipitation moving through. So yeah, no area is going to be exempt from this. All areas going to have the chance. Further eastwards, though, of course, you are furthest away from the precipitation at the moment, so it's got the least likelihood, but there is still a chance that we see some showers later. If you put on the temperatures as of 1 PM, you can see again in the south and the east it's not too bad. For the northwards and westwards and a slightly colder air mass, it is of course going to be a little bit colder, but these are sort of the average conditions now, not particularly warm. Temperatures in the mid to low teens, further northwards and westwards back towards maybe the high single digits, maybe sort of 10, 11 degrees. So yeah, chillier weather is coming, and over the next few weeks we're going to see even more decreases in these average temperatures, and by the time we get to December, the average temperature is going to be struggling into the mid to high single digits, quite widely even into the south, where we haven't dropped much below 15 degrees for a long time, 6 months plus probably now. Now, if we do go over to the UKV and have a look at what the precipitation and the temperature is showing over the next 5 days, and you can see all these bouts of precipitation moving through at the moment. They do predominantly stay in the west, but they will push eastwards at times, and even East Anglia could see a few areas of showers at times. They do degrade away a little bit overnight, but that's because another area of precipitation is pushing in from the south, mainly for parts of Ireland through tomorrow. Give some very heavy rain there. Further eastwards, a lot drier, but still a lot of thick cloud out there this afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, that is. Beyond that, through Sunday evening, we see more rain push across England. Could be quite heavy there, maybe even a bit of thundery rain mixing in there. You see some darker reds potentially through Sunday evening, because we've got this humid air coming up from the south. You can't really rule it out, to be honest. And then beyond that, eventually we do just see some showers in the north. But by this time we are starting to push in that southerly flow. Warmer air mass starting to approach. You can see the wind direction coming in from the south. Heavy bouts of precipitation starting to push in. And through Wednesday into Thursday, you can see that very heavy rain pushing in. At the moment, predominantly in the south and the west. But we are 4 or 5 days away, so the positioning of this heavier rain can move. So yeah, it does look like you're going to be seeing some very heavy rain pushing in with that humid sort of conditions, and if we didn't see this rain, I wouldn't be surprised to see temperatures into the low 20s, but as we see with the 2 metre temperatures in a minute, they're going to be struggling in the mid to high teens, which is not cold for some years, but above average, quite mild, but considering the upper air temperatures, it's pretty chilly, and you can see again eventually that precipitation continues to move in with the thicker cloud. Now, if I look at the dew points, as the upper air temperatures, you can see at the moment, it's around freezing in the north and around 5 or 6 degrees in the south. But we move to to Wednesday next week, and you can see widely high single digits towards 10 degrees, and maybe even touching 13, 14 degrees in the far southeast. And you'd expect these upper air temperatures in excess of the high teens, getting into the low 20s. But as we saw from the 2-meter temperatures, we're not going to be seeing that. Or as we see with the 2-meter temperatures in a minute, we're not going to be seeing that. And that is because of that precipitation we just saw. So if we do go over to the 2-meter temperatures, you can see this afternoon temperatures peaking around 15 to 17 degrees in the south, so mid-teens further northwards, struggling with the high single digits and the low teens perhaps. Overnight, we do see the temperatures drop away to the mid to low single digits in the north, high single digits, maybe low teens in the far south and the east. And into tomorrow, those afternoon temperatures are going to peak again around that 16, 17 degrees, so quite mild, and it's because we actually are avoiding the rain for some areas in the south through Sunday, and it does arrive eventually through Sunday evening. Now into Sunday night, we see those temperatures were still quite mild in the south, with very warm air masses starting to push up. And by Monday afternoon, you see 16 to 18 degrees. Actually, best temperatures probably next week are not going to be when we have that real warm air mass. It's going to be before that, when we have a bit of drier weather. And through the night, it's going to hardly drop below sort of 8, 9 degrees, but still could fall away. We see clear skies, and through Tuesday afternoon again, 17, 18 degrees in the south, cooler in the north, and into Wednesday, overnight temperatures are going to be pretty chilly because we've got clear skies regardless of the upper air temperatures, and you can see by Wednesday afternoon, struggling to around 15, 16 degrees, even though that is when the upper air temperatures are actually peaking, and that is all because of that cloud and precipitation holding those temperatures down. And eventually you can see it's early hours of Thursday. Look across that into the channel. Still 17, 18 degrees at 3 a.m, and that's just because of the upper air temperatures holding those surface temperatures up, and even inland could be 15, 16 degrees, which is really quite mild overnight. That's pretty much the daytime high, so diurnal range of almost 0 degrees, but it's all because of the cloud and the precipitation in the day not allowing those temperatures to rise. So if you now have a look at the GFS and see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks, you can see the lower pressure at the moment giving us heavier precipitation, and eventually to start next week you can see that southerly wind arriving, or southeasterly wind, all the way through into Wednesday before eventually low pressure pushes in, and we can't see that on the UKV yet, but when that low pressure does move in, we can see hints, at least in the UKV, big heavy bouts of precipitation likely with that. Eventually, we do see lower pressure return over the top of us and more of a west to northwesterly flow with the upper air temperatures, and you see low pressure returning to Iceland and Greenland. Not what we were seeing a couple of days ago in the longer term. We were seeing more blocking, but today the GFS definitely favouring more of a big westerly flow. It would be going colder and more unsettled with the wind direction coming in from the north and the west, but again, nothing exceptionally cold, nothing exceptionally unsettled, with the centre of the lows sticking towards Greenland and Iceland. But if we did see some kinks on the jet stream, then we could see some low pressure systems develop, and you can see it looks like an ex-hurricane system there still in the North Atlantic, and those yes, are coming to the end of the season, a couple of weeks left, or at least a few weeks left, into middle of November. But there is still the risk that they could play a little bit of a part in our weather over the next couple of weeks, in terms of pushing out into the North Atlantic, maybe giving us some stormy weather. But we'll have to see exactly what happens with this. But yeah, for the time being, GFS going more of a westerly flow in the longer term. Now, if we do look at the GEM, see what that does show in the next couple of days, the next 10 days in general. Again, south to southeasterly flow. You see those upper air temperatures, very warm, 10-degree isotherm within the temperature deviation, very warm, humid conditions, but going to be accompanied by a lot of precipitation. And beyond that, we eventually see cold air sweep through in around a week's time with a more of a north to northwesterly direction. And you can see that here. Yes, no major Greenland blocking, but ridges of high pressure up towards northeast Canada, which means the wind direction is coming in from Iceland and Greenland. Quite a long sea track, so it's not going to be incredibly cold, but it does mean it's going to be colder than average. Pretty chilly conditions coming in from the northwest, and you can see that emphasised on the temperature deviation. Those blues pushing into the UK, but only really 2 to 4 degrees below average. If we finish for the medium range models, have a look at the ECMWF. Again, low pressure dominating at the moment. You can see generally low pressure moving in, but that's south to southeasterly flow towards the week to the start of next week, and then eventually low pressure pushes in with a north to northwesterly flow, but here probably slightly more westerly here. And you can see there is higher pressure building towards Greenland, but it's not enough really to shift the jet stream. We actually are still, for the UK at least, still seeing more westerly flow. So definitely the models have got blocking in the short to maybe medium term, and in the long range they're starting to move away from it with more of a bout of westerly winds returning, maybe the northwesterly winds, meaning things are slightly colder but still generally unsettled oscillating air masses and areas of precipitation and stronger winds likely in the longer term as we head towards the end of October. There were hints of it turning very cold. Perhaps, as we see in the ensembles in a minute, there are still very few hints of that. But we'll have to see. Now, if you go over to the ensembles, as I said, and have a look at the latest GFS, now these GFS are just coming out at the moment, and you can see short range, or at least medium range, the next week or so above average. Quite warm, especially next week. A good 5 to maybe even 10 degrees above average, depending on the exact ensemble member. And yeah, very warm, but a lot of precipitation. So, as I said, even with that humid, warm southerly airflow, looks like there's going to be a lot of rain around at times. Beyond that, the temperatures return more towards average, but there is a lot of spread, some going well below, some going well above. Again, very uncertain exactly what's happening with that. As you saw by the operational runs, they're more favouring probably for more average sort of conditions, but with a westerly flow. None of these going down to -5 AH50 HPA, but the precipitation signal continues, which means it's going to probably stay unsettled. If you go over to the ECMWF to finish the video, and you can see generally above average over the next week or so with high precipitation. That precipitation continues all the way to the end of the run, towards the end of October. But the upper air temperatures probably return more towards average. A lot of spread still, some going very cold, some going back milder again, but definitely those cold runs have diminished in the longer range. So definitely looking more towards average probably, especially from seeing those operational runs with a westerly wind, but sort of a northwesterly wind direction. And air originating more from Greenland, so it's going to be a cool westerly wind, but probably average to maybe slightly below, slightly above, depending on the exact sort of low pressure systems pushing in. So yeah, very interesting seeing what's happening over the next few weeks. Very mild weather coming this week, then turning more towards average with a westerly flow. Still hints of it turning potentially colder toward the end, but nothing too crazy at this stage. But the big consistency that we have continue to point out in the last few days is this high precipitation, even in the south, where we have avoided some of the big bouts of precipitation over the last month or two. We have avoided it in the south, but it does look likely all the rain that's kind of coming over the next week or so is going to be in the south as well as the north, and that's because the wind direction is coming in from the south, so we're sort of the first in the south to be seeing that precipitation. So we'll have to see exactly what happens, but at least for drought conditions over the summer, this will be good for that, as some areas have still got low water levels, especially in reservoirs and things like that, which will be an issue come next summer unless we get it topped up now. So that is one good thing, but if you're looking for any dry weather into sort of end of October towards Halloween, we're not seeing a lot of that at this stage. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.